Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Martin Station. We're here in the state park known as Wilderness Road State Park here in the southwestern corner of Virginia in Lee County, Virginia. I'm sorry. And we are a very accurate representation of the year 1775 on the Virginia frontier. There was a gentleman by the name of Judge Richard Henderson who had plans to build a new colony out of Kentucky, and Joseph Martin, Captain Joseph Martin, was the land taker for that. He and a group of men came into this valley and had already been here in 1769 and built 3 cabins. Those cabins were built as hunters' cabins, and then he knew where to come back to build a station in order to sell off land in Kentucky. Now what we have here is a completely accurate representation of that station down to the minute detail from a journal that survived by a man named John Redd, who kept business couriership and details for the judge, and he detailed out not only the shape of the fort and how the palisades were put in place between the outside walls of the cabins, but also the use of the cabins, the size of the cabins, and the fact that Martin, in the far corner there, we call that the Common House. Martin had the first tavern license west of the Blue Ridge, so that is the operation of that building, and of course residential cabins and a militia headquarters. Monthly a militia muster would have been held here, as well as an office from which to sell the land into Kentucky. Now we were not meant to be a permanent settlement. We are going to move to Kentucky once we've got it sold, and the plan for Henderson was to present a finished colony or state, depending on how the war went. With that having been said, most of what's going on here, we're just moving people through. We will go on with them, and so everything here was meant to just be temporary, but thankfully that journal survived, and we're able to accurately depict what life was like in Virginia at this time in 1775. Now they were only here, I think, a little over a year, depending on the journal that you read and some of the accounts. There was some difficulty with a war party that came through the gap at one point, but all the stations in the region put together a large force and went out in opposition to them, and that war party left this area and went back out into another part of Kentucky. So largely these stations were well manned, well organized, and well equipped to deal with whatever came along, and the success of that is the opening of what we know as the gateway to the west, which is the Cumberland Gap. Boone, of course, played a role in that over at Sycamore Shoals. They had the treaty where they actually bought the land from Kentucky from the Cherokee. Tribal chiefs like Attacullaculla and several others were there to sign that treaty. And one of them even told Boone that they had given up a dark and bloody ground that it could be difficult to settle. And so the Cherokee have sold it, but they're not the only ones to claim ownership of it. So we only have one tribe of many that would lay claim to that. So the difficulty of settling Kentucky was not just the fact of surveying it and then building something to live in. It was the difficulty of moving in and pushing out another group of people who were already there, which is a big part of the history of the United States in that century. Now, with what I said earlier, with all this being accurate to a journal, when you come here and visit Martin Station, you'll see a lot of fully dressed, completely periodically correct actors and reenactors, living historians, authors, what have you, who are here giving life to the pages of history. We're building, we're growing, we're rebuilding. We tend the animals, we tend the crops, everything the way they would have done in 1775 as far as what we've been able to document. And that word documentation is incredibly important to us, because if we can document it, we do it. If we can't document it, we don't. We want to depict as accurate a history as possible. And when you come through our front gate, we want you to have what we call a time travel experience. We want you to step through the gate, step into 1775, and enjoy seeing what life was like for our forefathers and early frontiersmen. Okay, again, we're at Martin Station, and we've moved out of the station proper into what would be the Blacksmith Shop. Now behind me is the Blacksmith Shop that you would see on the frontier. This is just a blacksmith shop set up to help get people on into Kentucky. It is really more of a repair shop than anything. This far out on the frontier, we have a difficulty in keeping a good supply of metal stock. And so what we have, we utilize to repair as much as possible, because our job here again is not to stay here permanently. We are moving people west into Kentucky, and even though just about every man had the rudimentary skill and the tools to do what he needed to do to repair his own things, if your goal and focus is to get into Kentucky, you're not going to take off the time it takes to get all of your equipment out, fix what you need when you find a working blacksmith shop. Now, it is a very Spartan setup. Again, if we get to Kentucky, we'll set up a more permanent shop, probably get on a water course or a creek somewhere where we can get a water wheel. We'll send even them for more things, but we can do what we need to do. And in this weekend, we have actually been working on a breaking plow. If you've never broken the ground before, it takes a special type of plow, and we forged out our plow blade just as an example of some of the simple things we can do, which is simply just taking a taper into a piece of stock, punching the hole for the attachment on the wooden frame that it'll be mounted onto. And of course, this will be essential for every homestead in Appalachia years and years to come. Even today, the necessity of a breaking plow is there. Now behind me, and I'll step around this way, the heart and soul of the operation is the bellows. And of course, we couldn't work without it. Without that jet of air going into the fire, there's no way the fire is getting hot enough to do what we need to do. And all the tools that we have and need here can be gathered quickly, put in a box, and put on a pack horse along with our anvil and the bellows. Everything else here can be set up somewhere else. And most Appalachian towns later had a blacksmith shop in it. This is going to be an essential job for time and time again. Along with the gunsmith next door, we set up, and everybody has to come see us. There is no way that people are just going to throw something broken away. They're going to come have it repaired and keep using it and reusing it for whatever it can be, down to nothing left. And that becomes a trait of every great Appalachian family, is to be able to use something, wear it out, and get the most use and utility out of it before it's time to throw it away. Now, of course, again, in 1775, where we are, people could do with a lot less. So many of your tools serve multiple purposes. If you had one good axe, you could build a log cabin. That axe would serve many purposes. You could get a lot of different work done out of that tool. Other simple tools that were there took care of business, and you built your log cabin, which was your starter home, whether you're in Appalachia or up in the Pennsylvania woods, wherever you are. Later, you'll see sawmills set up, cut lumber, and then frame houses will go up. There was still a use for the blacksmith then, because then we'll switch from building and repairing tools to things like nail making and some more production work like that. But here at Martin Station 1775, we've got an accurate representation of what a frontier shop would look like, and as we work in here, we're working on things that are being used here at the site. Again, our plow example, we also are building tools that will be used here at the site to do and replace exactly as it was in 1775. We make sure that when the public is here, they see us living, working, and doing as you would have seen in the 18th century.
This is the Gunsmith Shop at Martin Station in Virginia. It was established in about 1775, 1776. There would have been a master gunsmith here or a journeyman gunsmith. The master could have built every single part of the gun, and so he would have been somebody that should have been here. There would also be possibly a journeyman gunsmith who would help him, and we've got 3 in here that can build guns all over. You could possibly build every single piece of a gun, and during the history of this new fort, we have actually built a gun from scratch. We built the barrel, the lock, the brass hardware, and stocked it up and made a finished rifle in the shop. They've been building in the shop since they opened it, and there is a gunsmith that works in here fairly regularly. We come in on some weekends during the year to help build. But we build pretty much any kind of gun you want, but predominantly some of the southern guns, more like the Virginia and the North Carolina rifles. I'm a full-time gunsmith at home in Kentucky, and so this is what I do 6 days a week, whether I'm here or not. I come in here on Thursday nights and work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm building guns or shaping things out and giving talks.
Now, what's your name and where are you from in Kentucky?
My name is Mike Miller, and I'm from Edmonton, Kentucky, and I work full-time as a gunsmith there.
Are your family originally from Kentucky?
As of 1800, yes. Originally, we were from Virginia and North Carolina, and we moved into Kentucky about 1800.
Hi, I'm Steve Jinglebach. I'm also from Kentucky. Also, I'm a part-time gunsmith. I've not gone full-time yet, but hope to someday. And what I predominantly make is Kentucky version of the long rifles. And by that, a lot of people kind of get wrapped around the axle about Pennsylvania guns and Virginia guns and whatnot. All guns had a regional character to them. Little details that the gunsmiths in that area made them with these details, and it was recognizable by the people that lived there that these were hometown products. So each colony developed a style, so to speak, and the Pennsylvanians had theirs. We had ours. Virginia, we were part of Virginia. So a lot of the Kentucky rifles have the Virginia characteristics. So they're a usable gun still to this day. We still make flintlocks. We still use flintlocks. Hunt everything that you can hunt with a flintlock rifle. I have done for a long time, and haven't felt disadvantaged, not in the least.
I'm Simeon England. I'm also from South Central Kentucky, and I'll tell you another aspect of what the gun builders were doing is they were making pipe tomahawks, making them for fancy people, for chiefs, and they just about everybody had a tomahawk on the frontier and or in colonial America to fight with. And the pipe tomahawk is almost predominantly a gunsmith-made tool, weapon. It's not a tool, it's a weapon, because it takes a lot of refinement and things like that the gunsmith already has the tools and the skills to be able to do. And so this has a bowl in it that they would put their tobacco in here, and the haft has a hole that goes all the way through, and they would put that in their mouth and smoke the pipe. So this is something that I do. I'm a full-time blacksmith, gunsmith in South Central Kentucky, and my name's Simeon England.
Okay, so again, here at Martin Station, we like for people to come in and see daily life going on, and one of the more important things that went on amongst all of the cooking and living and working was the constant sewing and repairing of clothes. Now, here we would have had the opportunity to grow a plant called flax, which is broken into the fiber that linen is made from. You also would have had wool spun from sheep's wool. You would have had the yarn from that woven into with the linen. So linsey woolsey is the product, and you would have seen a lot of that worn out here. The cotton and various other fabrics that my daughter Madeline is wearing here would have been pretty constant. So hand sewing and that hand production is a lot of what you'll see here at Martin Station as well.
How do you like sewing there?
Good.
It's absolutely essential if you want new stuff. You didn't have the opportunity to go to any sort of department store, so you had to come up with the bolt cloth, cut your patterns out, and all the hand craftsmanship, though, guaranteed a certain level of quality and fit that you would have trouble finding in modern clothing today. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you come to visit Martin Station here at Wilderness Road State Park in Lee County, Virginia, this past weekend has been our biggest event all year. We call it the First Frontier. Each month, though, we do something that in the 18th century was done. In the 18th century monthly, every community had what was called a militia muster. All the surrounding families would come in. The men would form a militia unit, drill, practice, and talk about what was going on in the area. The women in the families would cook meals. There would be dancing. If there was a traveling minister, there would be church as well as potentially weddings. There was even court on those days if there was a magistrate or someone in acting role for a magistrate. And what we try to do today is we try to take each month and give it a theme. Now, a good example of that is we do a theme month where on the second weekend of that month we have women of the 18th century, women on the frontier. Everything is centered around that. We do one for the trades, for the blacksmith and gunsmith and different crafts. We have another militia muster month where we talk about the hunting culture, the deer hunting, the buffalo hunting, and just that's the theme for the weekend. And if you come in our gate, you're liable to see not just the theme for the weekend, but as you've seen in the Gunsmith Shop, they're working. Blacksmith Shop, we're working. You might see the ladies sewing, you will see cooking, you will see it all done the same way it was done in 1775. So if you choose to come visit with us, we hope to give you a fantastic time travel experience and give you the real history of what went on the Wilderness Road, as well as this part of Appalachia in the late 18th century.